we're live. Gonna give this a second to catch up. Make sure people can actually see it. There's a delay. So hopefully there's a few people in here at least. I'm gonna test my volume here real quick. Sounds like audio is working, but let me know if it's too low. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna hang out for a couple minutes. I'm testing out a whole bunch of different software. I had to update my video driver to even get on, but I've got OBS Studio set up and I've got it connected to YouTube, so that's good. I chose to go live here in the middle of the night on a Sunday, so hopefully no one watches. With no notice at all. So basically the idea is I'm just testing out the software and the hardware. I want to see what this looks like, see what it sounds like before I do this for real and set something up for real in advance. So I've got my green screen behind me, which looks like it's working out pretty cool. Let's see if I can change the background clip while we're actually live. See if I can actually do that. Aha! Looks like it worked. That's kind of fun. I do have clips of my tanks that I could use, but they're not as good. Do something like that, but the footage I have is not very long, so the loop will be very short and kind of annoying to see it loop over and over again. So, but good to know that I can change the background. It's relatively painless. Just put it back to this for now. All right. So we did the intro timer, and it looks like that worked pretty well. I noticed that even though we were live, it took a few seconds, like 20 or 30 seconds, for anyone to even be able to jump in and see that it was actually live. So there's definitely a delay, but I guess that's something I'm going to have to get used to. All right, so this is my main camera. I've got my mic up here, so hopefully that's loud enough. If it's not loud enough, I might need to move the microphone. So this is what it sounds like if I'm just sitting in my seat. I'll get closer to the microphone. And this is what it sounds like if I'm like real close to the microphone. So we'll have to see which one sounds better, and I can move the microphone as we need to. Alright, so that's microphone, and it looks like it's working. Got it hooked up. I can see the bars. Looks like it's taking. The only thing I don't know is if I'm quiet, how much of that background bubbling noise you're going to hear from my tanks. I might need to, in the next week, work on silencing some of that, so that it's not quite as loud. So we just focus on the audio for the stream and not the background noise. All right, I want to try one other thing here. Actually, a couple different things. I've got different scenes set up, so I'm going to switch from the main camera, and hopefully you can hear a background audio track, and you can also hear my microphone still. That's true, that's what I'm aiming for. Hey, wow, Aquatics. How is it in Texas? I've got a number of little clips here from my tanks. These are the Muster plecos. I got a group of 24 of these, I want to say 3 months back. They're pretty tiny. They were like an inch and a quarter when I got them. And it's always sketchy getting plecos that small because you never know if they're just going to die on you. But luckily, I haven't lost a single one, which is very surprising. But I've noticed they grow very, very slow, and different growth rates. Like some of them are still really tiny even 3 months later, and some are getting pretty big. So they have enough food. They just don't seem to eat as much as some of the other plecos. But Wabenmuster, it's German for honeycomb, and so this is just a regular Ancestris, but it was bred for that honeycomb pattern, which is really neat looking. So I'm pretty excited to have these. They're one of the newer like designer Ancestris that you can find. And so yeah, I've got a group of 24 of them, but they're still all juvenile. Once they reach breeding size, I'll probably be able to pair some off, sell a few pairs maybe to make up my my cost, and then I'll just have a breeding colony. I've got these in one of my 50-gallon low boys. There's also some white clouds in there you can see, and some rainbow shiners, but you're not going to see those on the clip. Alright, now let's just walk through a few different clips here. They're all like, I don't know, 10 or 15 second clips, so they're not that exciting, but I just want to get some sample footage so that in the future I could load some video content and we could watch it together and I could talk over it and talk to you guys at the same time. So this is a tank with, you're seeing mostly here daisy blue ricefish, but there's also some Scipia multipunctata. Those are the ones with the weird fins, weird looking fins. Pretty cool. I also have some Aeneas corycats, and there are some, I think, common plecos, but they're all hiding. But, oh, there's also some black chin live bearers in there. I think you saw one at the end of the clip. But yeah, pretty cool fish. I haven't had like any luck with the rice fish. I tried them outdoors last year. Didn't have any luck except for these guys, the daisy blue rice fish. They're the only ones that like higher temperatures, like aquarium temperatures, and so they don't go through like a cold phase. So they've been breeding like crazy. I just stuck a bunch of live plants in their tank, and they got a lot of babies. So happy with those ones. I think I'm gonna get rid of all the other rice fish though. Just stick with these because they're easy. What do we got here? Haliatus cories. Again, this is another super easy fish. I love these guys. Yeah, they're basically like a cold water cory, and so I've got my tanks at like 65 degrees, and they're happy as can be. Probably one of the hardiest cory catfish you could ever hope to find, and they're dirt cheap, so even better. I'm not really focused on breeding cory cats, but I do like them in all of my tanks. I have had some success, pretty much on accident, breeding these, but mostly I like them in the tanks just so they kick up the stuff on the bottom so that they can get picked up by the overflow and picked up by the filters. When stuff just settles on the bottom and there's no cory cats to like stir it up, it just tends to just like stick to the bottom and turn into sludge. It's harder to remove later. So they do a good job with that at least, and they clean up, you know, all the extra food that hits the bottom. So no complaints. What do we got here? Top down on one of my Spanish rib newts. This guy was an accident too. Before I was ready to breed the Spanish rib newts that I have, I just took some eggs that I found one day and I threw them in a bunch of plants in one of my fish tanks, and I just forgot about him. And 2 months later, I found this guy. He was like basically fully formed. His gills were just about gone, and now they're gone completely at this point. But yeah, he survived. He must have found enough infusoria in like the guppy grass and the java moss and stuff, and then he was in the tank with the daisy blue rice fish, which have a lot of babies, really, really small babies. So he probably ate hundreds of those and I didn't even know it. But it was enough. It was enough to sustain him and grow him to the size where one day I walked by the tank and I saw him and I was like, huh, I guess one made it. And so I pulled him out and now he's in solitary, but he's getting frozen bloodworms, live black worms, live white worms. So he's pretty happy. And I think this is my last clip here, Fishroom clip. It looks like the audio is looped too, which is good. So everything here works. This is just a shot of my live blackworm. And you can see there's a dead fish there. There's a green bean. There's a piece of old zucchini. So basically, all of the scraps from feeding my ancestors plecos, I'll just toss into this blackworm bin the next day, and you know, the plecos can feed on something new, and the worms will clean up the scraps. Even the dead fish too, like, you know, I've got so many fish, it's inevitable. There's gonna be one or two that die every day, because I've got hundreds and hundreds. And so when it's their time, they'll go in the blackworm bin, and they seem to like them. So, you know, nothing goes to waste in the fish room. Alright, those are the clips. I'm sure I'll come up with more at some point. Oh yeah, there it goes. The audio does loop. Okay, so we're good. Nice. Okay, so looks like that scene works with the test clips, and now we're back to the main camera view. I've got two more scenes that I want to test out real quick. These will be fast. The first is if I need a bathroom break during a stream, I'm going to toss this on, so we'll see if this works. Seems like it works just fine. Okay, that's cool. And then I'm not actually going right now. I'm not leaving the stream, but I'm going to click on this, and this is going to be what I'm going to use as my outro. So don't be fooled. I'm coming right back, but I'm going to pop this up and we'll see what it looks like. So when I do sign off on a real stream, this is what it would look like. So let's test it out. Oh, that's cool. That's nice. I think I can still talk over it too, so even though you can't see my pretty face, I can still say goodbye. Oh. Alright, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with everything. Software, I'm using OBS Studio. I've got a laptop set up in the basement. Again, I've got my microphone up here. This is the one thing I'm unsure of, if the microphone is loud enough. Yeah, man. Finished the big tub, burning in the yard. Yeah, I did. So it must have been 3 or 4 years ago at this point. I got a 1,000-gallon preformed poly plastic pond, and I dug a hole 4 feet deep and like 8 feet wide, and sunk that in the ground. And then I built a greenhouse right next to it. So yeah, I've got goldfish in there that are like 8 years old at this point. The pond itself has been in for I think 4 years. It's doing awesome, and I can't wait to get out and start filming again outdoors. I think we're gonna get a snowstorm tomorrow, but give it a month and hopefully we'll be outdoors doing some cool stuff. So yeah, so it's a 1,000-gallon pond that's in the ground, and then I've got the patio pavers around it. Then I've got the greenhouse, and in the greenhouse, if you've seen some of the past videos, I have 6 Laguna tubs, ponds, on one wall. And this past year, I haven't filmed any videos on it. I might have a short that you can go take a look, as a teaser, but This past year I installed 4 IBC totes on the other wall of the greenhouse. So that'll be a lot of fun to play around with. I was really successful with the IBC totes last year, even though I was basically focused on replumbing the whole greenhouse last year. But I tossed in some white clouds into an IBC tote, and I started with 6, and I probably ended up with 1,000. So you wonder why some fish are so cheap at your store. That's because they're pretty prolific. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that. I have for this year in the 4 IBC totes, I've got the white cloud mountain minnow, I've got the golden white cloud, and I got the Vietnamese white cloud, which has a bigger fin, kind of cool. And then I also have rainbow shiners. So all of those are egg scattering fish, and I think I'm gonna design like a big floating basket so that the adults can sit in there, and I'll put stones on the bottom of the basket, and then when they scatter their eggs, they'll fall straight through to the bottom of the IBC tote, and then there'll be 250 gallons for those little fry to swim around in. And I saved some leaves from the yard in the fall, and I'm gonna throw all the leaves in the bottom of those IBC totes so that it's just full of infusoria. I've got some cultures going, so I'll do a video on that at some point. But that'll be really cool. That's what they ate on. So the reason I was so successful last year was the 1,000-gallon pond is outdoors, and so a bunch of leaves fall in that naturally, and so all of the infusoria was just naturally in this whole like closed loop system, and so those fry were able to eat off the infusoria from the dead leaves at the bottom of the pond. You know, the winter hasn't been that bad here in Massachusetts. It's actually, I think it's one of the lowest precipitation years we've had. I haven't even used a shovel once to shovel snow, but we've had some cold days. We've had a lot of rainy days, and I just wanted to get to the point where the temperatures are steady and I can think about adding water back into some of those tubs in the greenhouse. So that should be cool. Okay, well, I've tested out the software. I think what I'm going to aim to do is I'm going to try to do 1 live stream a week is what I'm going to aim for. And I hear that you're supposed to go for an hour when you do it. So we'll see how much we can come up with for that. I've watched a bunch of people's live streams. They're really entertaining. I think it's really fun to hang out with fish people and just chit chat and talk about things and answer questions. So I think the format that I've seen work, and let me know if you guys have any opinions on this, but the format that I've seen work pretty well is start with a topic, just talk about something for 15 or 20 minutes, and then just open it up to chat and just answer questions for the rest of the session. I think that works pretty well. The one thing I want to add on top of that is some of my own video or clips or things like that. So if I have a topic and I also have like a little 5-minute video to share, like if I'm like, hey, let's talk about the Lobenwitzer plecto, blah, 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 blah. We're going to look at this footage for 5 minutes and then talk about it. Something like that. I think being able to cut to video, or since I have the green screen, I can put my face in the corner and I can sort of be overlaid on top of whatever video I'm playing. We can play around with some different views, but I want to be able to talk about something and be able to cover something. I feel like the biggest problem with live streams is individual people will get answers to individual questions, which is super valuable and really fun. But if there's, let's say, 100 people and only 5 people didn't know the answer to the question or cared about the answer to the question, everyone just sort of has to listen to the whole, story. So I want to be careful. I want to make sure that there's some sort of educational piece at the beginning, some topic that can be talked through extensively before opening it up to chat, just to make sure that at least everyone gets something out of it, and so it feels like it has a little bit more focus. But that's my idea. Whatever happened to the mangroves? So, I've gone to Florida a few times over the last 10 or 15 years, and the way I understand it is you can collect red mangrove propagules from the wild as long as they are floating and they have no leaves and they have no roots established. So essentially it's just the seed pod. There's no growth, there's no signs of life essentially. If it's stuck in the mud and there's a little root, or if it's starting to pop out a little leaf, then it's off limits. But there's thousands and thousands of those things that are just floating around in the fall, like starting in October. And so the few times I've been there in the fall, I managed to collect some and send them home. And the first reason that I picked them up to begin with was because I thought they'd be cool in my turtle tank. And what I found was when the roots were exposed, the turtles would just rip them apart. Not intentionally, they weren't trying to eat them, they were just like trying to prop themselves up, and it would just strip off all the roots and eventually they'd die. So that didn't work out that well. I've floated some in my aquariums before, but then it's sort of a pain not being able to put the lid down. I think the most success I've had is putting them in like the expanded clay media baskets, and putting them in my 300-gallon stock tank so that the roots are protected. But what I find is that they do okay for I don't know, 6 months or so, and then they just start to deteriorate. I've got them in fresh water. They're supposed to be in brackish to salt water. They can survive in fresh water. I think it's more of a nutrient deficiency, and because I had fish and turtles and other things in the tank, I wasn't really focused on dosing the correct nutrients, macronutrients for the plants to make sure that they live. So I'm sure it was some sort of deficiency, and at some point they grow a bunch of roots, and then they grow 4, 5, 6 leaves, and then the leaves just start falling off. They just sort of wither and die. So that's as far as I've gotten. I feel like the only reason I would get back into red mangrove specifically is if I started a saltwater tank at some point, and then I just wanted to have like a massive sump or a refugium. I think they do very, very well in a situation like that, and it would really be beneficial for a saltwater tank. Yeah, Q&A aspect is definitely a good part of a live stream. Honestly, like it feels like if someone's going to spend their time hanging out, chatting, you might as well get a question answered, right? It's the only time. I mean, especially during the last 3 or 4 years when everyone was just stuck indoors. It's a really great outlet to be able to just talk to people and feel like you're able to connect. But yeah, being able to ask a question and get it answered is pretty cool in real time. I still have my turtles. Yes, I do. I've got 2 competing thoughts about my turtles, and so I'm sort of at a crossroads. I have 3 black knob map turtles at the moment in my 300-gallon stock tank indoors, and they're doing great. It's 1 dominant female and then 2 males, and they're full grown, and she has laid eggs probably 6 times, but she doesn't go in the nesting box. She always lays them in the water, which makes me upset because one of the reasons I've sort of raised them from hatchlings is to be able to also, you know, raise the eggs. And so the nesting box just isn't, you know, up to her, up to her par, I guess, because she's not using it, and that stresses me out because I know it stresses her out because she's deciding to lay in the water. So I either have to correct that or I need to rehome them and move on to something else. I have thought of potentially putting my adult Spanish rib newts in the tank because it would give them a lot of space to be able to lay eggs, and I could collect a lot more eggs from them and be successful with them. I've sort of reached a part in my turtle keeping experience where I think I would be happiest keeping a species that can survive outdoors, because I feel like turtles are much happier outdoors than they are indoors. It's very apparent after keeping them that you know, they do better outdoors, and so it's one of those like funny things where it's like, what's best for the animal? It's replicating its natural environment, and for a fish, you know, that might be a 50-gallon aquarium, and they're totally fine, like they're content. But you know, turtles, they need like giant bodies of water, and so the best we can do is just a fraction of what they would experience in the wild. And so that's not the greatest thing, but it is what it is. So I could go either way with them. I'm just not quite sure, but it is something I think I'll be making a decision on sometime this year, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, 50% hatch. That's not bad. You know, the one thing I don't have is like a good incubator. So one, like I'm not sure that the eggs are even fertile. There are 2 males in there, but I'm not sure that the eggs are fertile. And then 2, the eggs that I have caught in the water, I don't think that I've ever found one where it's like, oh, she just did this. I feel like it's like, oh, it's been in there for 12 hours and I didn't notice because, you know, it was under something and I didn't see it. So I haven't had any success with grabbing eggs out of the water and hatching them. But if I had an incubator, it might increase the chance. Like I think part of the problem is the soil in the nesting box might it might not be moist enough, and they just might not want to lay eggs in it. Nice. Yeah, turtle. They're a lot of fun. I'm glad you got into them, and I'm glad I could help inspire people keeping them. You know, I thought I was crazy 10 years ago when I put a 300-gallon stock tank indoors. I visited a friend of mine who had a 300-gallon stock tank. I think it's one of the first dozen videos that I put out, and so I saw his 300-gallon rubber-made stock tank in his basement, and I was like, wow, like this is legit. Like this is awesome. This is like a habitat for a turtle, and so it inspired me to get one of my own, and it's been set up and it's been running. You know, I've moved from apartment to now a house for the last 10 years, and it's still set up and running. So I don't think I would ever shut it down. The biggest drawback is it creates a lot of humidity. So you know, it's expensive to run it just because it's expensive to heat it, and it's expensive to dehumidify the air. But it is a lot of fun. Yeah, and like those smaller species that you mentioned, those are good ones. Yeah, 6 hours. Nice. Yep. They're a lot of fun. They're fun to watch. when they let you. they like to hide. But yeah, it's I don't think the stock tank is going anywhere, but I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence with the turtles. But I think my the sort of dream project for turtles, I think, would be like literally digging a pond outdoors and filling it up, and then not really like keeping turtles, but allowing an environment on my property to be a natural habitat for natural species of turtles, native species of turtles. And so it wouldn't be like a pet that I would necessarily feed or have a name for or keep tabs on. But if I was able to build something and then the turtles just found it, right, naturally, I think that would be really cool. That'd be really awesome. But that's a big project. I mean, you look on YouTube and look for people that build their own ponds, like natural ponds. I'm not talking like dig a hole and install a liner in it and stuff. I'm talking like take some big machinery and then truck in a whole bunch of clay and then flatten it and then build something that can naturally hold water. That's really expensive to do. I have the space. It's just I got 2 acres, but sort of out in the woods. So I don't know how I would get any sort of equipment back there. But it might be a fun project one day. Unless we move. Is the business still going? So my aquarium box is not going. That shut down right around the time COVID happened 3 years ago, and I don't think it's coming back. Sad to say, but it was a really great learning experience. It wasn't necessarily super profitable because our thought was to put all of the value back into the products that were inside the box. So there's a lot of work. There wasn't a lot of money in it, but I learned a lot along the way. So there will be some form of business here coming up. I'm not ready to announce it quite yet. It will be a little bit different, so it won't be a subscription type of thing, but I am looking to manufacture some aquarium products. So there'll be some videos for sure on the channel when it's ready to be talked about. Yeah, Utah gets really hot, but then it gets really cold. So it's kind of strange weather up there. There's some areas like Florida, Texas, where you can just throw a kiddie pool outdoors and you're set for almost every day of the year. There might be like one occasional freak storm that comes through, and then you can just pull them indoors for a night. But yeah, like people in Florida and Texas have it pretty easy with outdoor turtles. Yeah, I've looked at the I think they're called ghetto baiters, where you take a cooler and put some water in it and an aquarium heater, and then you put like a little raised platform so that it's out of the water, and then you can put your eggs in little tubs or totes with vermiculite and whatnot. Looks really easy to do. I've just never done it. It's one of those funny things where it's like maybe it's a project that I should do so that I have it ready to go when I need it. But then again, I'm like, I'm not gonna need it because I haven't seen any signs of like real success in that department anyway. So it's like sort of a chicken or the egg, and I haven't bothered with it. But for like serious turtle people that are like really looking to like get breeding groups together and they have like a whole room set up for that sort of stuff, yeah, like that's definitely something people should have on hand. It's just it's not my main focus, so I haven't put a whole lot of effort into it, for good or for bad. But all right, well, we've been going for, what is it, like 40 minutes or so? It's not too bad. If anyone here has any last questions, let me know. Again, this is a test stream. I was just looking to test out the software and the hardware. If you have any last questions, put them in the chat. I'll answer them, and then we can jump off this thing. But I think everything works. Like all of my hardware, all of my software looks like it works. I had that one hiccup at the beginning with the driver, the video driver, that needed an update. I have one main camera right now. I do have a second camera that I could install, and I do have a switcher, so I can switch between the two cameras, which would be really cool. I haven't figured out a good way to do it, because I would love to have a camera that's like looking at the fish room, so that there's a camera looking at me, and then there's a camera looking at the fish room. But the one issue I have is if I'm using the chroma key for the green screen, and it's considered one source coming into the computer, the view of the fish room would also be chroma keyed. So I would have to take the chroma key off of this main camera, and you'd see green behind me, but that would allow me to show the aquariums in the room if I switched source. So there's probably another way to do it. I might need to get like a USB adapter so I can plug in more USB devices. Like I'm sure I could get, instead of a camera, like a second camera, I could just get a webcam as a second camera and try it that way. Audio volume. All the way up, and still, okay, so audio volume's not high enough. Alright, let's test this out. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so this is the volume we've been streaming at this whole time. This is increased by, I don't know, like 5-10 decibels. Oh, is that, no, it's not. Okay, hold on. Wrong. Audio properties. Okay, mic. Okay. I set it to 0 decibels. I'm wondering if this is better. Oh, you hear the bubbles now. See, I've got, I can fix the bubbles. I can fix the bubbles before next stream. But if this audio is better, then that's good. I can increase the gain even more. Or, like I was talking about earlier, I could set the microphone down lower, and then I would be closer to the microphone, and this is what it would sound like. So yeah, way more water noise. I know. There are a few different settings on the microphone, which it's like directional settings. I think I have it on the correct one, where it's looking for the signal in front of the microphone instead of behind it. So all the bubbles are coming from behind, the bubble noises. Yeah, that position's way better. Okay, so I'm gonna have to move the microphone before the next stream so that it's like way closer to my face, so it's like right here. And if I do that, then hopefully I can reduce the gain on it, and then you won't hear the bubbles. And I can also try to just get rid of the bubbles by shutting off some of the air, or putting more air stones on, so it's not like the gurgly noise. But a fish room. I gotta work on ways to silence it if we're streaming, right? Because audio is everything in a stream. I'm sure it would help out with some of the videos too. But all right, so yeah, thanks for letting me know about the audio. We'll try to get that sorted out before the next one. Yeah, crystal clear with a little bit more bubble noise. All right, cool. So noted, the microphone is way too high in the air, and we're not getting enough of it. So I'll definitely do that for next time. Yeah, so I think we're done. Sorry, this wasn't like some awesome topic or, you know, a ton of people asking a whole bunch of, you know, insightful questions like other streams. Again, this was like purely a test. I just want to jump on here and test the hardware and the software. So I think with that, we're gonna wrap this up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for participating. Thanks for helping me with the audio issues. And yeah, once I get a schedule, I'm sure I'll post that, and people will know in advance when I'm streaming. And if we got 5 people, great. If we got 50, awesome. It's not, don't really care. I think I just want to do the live stream thing and see how it works, and we'll go from there. So thanks everyone for being here. I'm gonna hit my my goodbye scene, so you can enjoy this as we sign off together. So thanks for tuning in. I'm sure we'll get this down. Do it for real next time. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good week. And I'll see you guys later.